We're all familiar with the saying, don't mix money and family, or don't mix love, money, friendship.
It's easy to lose focus when dealing with debt, but that's where we come in. Ginsberg Gingras has helped over 140,000 people take a smarter path forward, make better repayment plans, and enjoy an easier return to life as normal, confidently and confidentially. Your life beyond debt? We see it. Ginsberg Gingras, licensed insolvency trustees. Find us online. Ginsberg Gingras. We resolve, you restart.
The idea for this podcast episode came when a debtor told us that his mother was willing to lend him a substantial amount of money from her savings in order to help him rectify his financial difficulties. This is not an uncommon situation. We often meet debtors whose family members want to help. They also borrow the necessary amount of money from the bank and loan the funds to the debtor in order to help them solve their financial problems. When faced with a difficult financial situation, it can be tempting to accept financial help when we have an entourage, family, or friends ready to give us a hand. But is it really a good idea? Over the past 30 years, I've seen people who've had to go through a bankruptcy or a consumer proposal who've had a family or friend lend them money trying to help them prior to filing a formal insolvency process. These people also find themselves among the list of the debtor's creditors. For some, it is a very uncomfortable situation. In case you're wondering, yes, even loved ones are creditors which must be disclosed to the trustee in the case of a bankruptcy or a consumer proposal. So, if borrowing or accepting money from a loved one seems like the right solution at the time, it's always a good idea to take the time and ponder and wonder if it's truly the right solution. We're all familiar with the saying, don't mix money and family, or don't mix love, money, friendship. To ask someone or accept their offer to help us financially is to embroil them in our problem unless the funds which are advanced is a gift with no expectation of repayment. Let's go back to the situation I told you about earlier. Mom offers part of her life savings to help her child with his debt. She is healthy, active, and independent. And in addition, she tells her child, you will reimburse me when you can, and if you cannot, it will be part of your inheritance. This could be a viable solution if all is well, and if the debt is not too high, if it is viable for the debt to be repaid, if the lender, in this case this mom, does not need the funds for their own expenses or debts, and with the increase of cost of living, rent, and food, what if she also needs the funds before she could recover the funds lent to her child? What if the mother suddenly got sick and she needed these funds in order to pay for her own health care? You never know what tomorrow will bring. Now let's look at another example. Our sister or a close friend takes out a loan and advances us the money to pay our debts. This new financial obligation for this person might affect their personal credit by reducing their future borrowing capacity. Furthermore, this might also have an impact on their eligibility to obtain new credit if this loan has not been repaid in full. Alternatively, having your loan endorsed or co-signed by another person might not be a better solution if we are already in financial difficulties. The endorser would be liable in the same way that the principal borrower would be. When a lender requires a cosigner, it is because they consider that the borrower is not financially strong enough. If the borrower defaults on the payment, the cosigner is liable for the debt in its entirety. In case where funds are loaned by loved ones, some people might think that by signing an acknowledgement of debt to the lender will protect our loved one. This is a good idea. In fact, it's a great idea. In the case of a dispute, it allows the lender to demonstrate the existence and validity of his debt and the original intent between the borrower and the lender. But it is never a guarantee of reimbursement. We must also be weary of being in a situation where a liability is simply displaced. What if you no longer owe the bank, but you still owe money to your loved ones? Ask yourself, could you still make ends meet while paying down the debt to the loved one? The best solution, in my biased opinion, is always to consult a licensed insolvency trustee before taking the path of giving money out of love or receiving money out of love. This will allow you to better understand the problem and possible solutions without putting the finances of those we love at risk. Thank you for allowing me to briefly discuss a delicate subject which sometimes conceals unsuspecting pitfalls for our loved ones. Your future beyond debt, we see it.